To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew, that you need to know. Like our perspective.
Well, hello, and good afternoon to all of you. I want to welcome you to Fefe's Jazz Cafe. I want to say welcome. I want to say hello, and I want to tell you that today we're going to look at a little bit of a topic that I think we've all had to deal with in one way or another. And if it wasn't us specifically, then that means maybe we knew somebody, or maybe we can think of a couple of stories. What you see on the thumbnail is we're looking at Cain and Abel. However, when we're thinking about sibling rivalry, we can think of a whole lot of other biblical context stories, such as, I don't know, Esau and Jacob, Ishmael and Ishmael and who changed his name to what is it, Isaac? Yeah. So there are several different folks that we can think of when we think about sibling rivalry. But today I want to talk about the seriousness of it all. It is so serious that parents are really having struggles trying to figure out exactly what to do, how to deal with it, how to stop it. And it can actually have some pretty bad consequences if it's not handled and harnessed early enough. I don't know if you guys have children who may have had issue with their sibling or their brother. Maybe it's you. I know that a lot of times I look at some of the parents and the way that they respond to their children. And that is exactly where I think a lot of it starts. For whatever reason, even though there's this natural innate thing to have competition with other human beings, for whatever reason, sometimes parents, specifically moms, look at, for example, sons and say, well, why aren't you more like your brother? Why aren't you more like, why aren't you more like him? Well, look at what he does. He's perfect. And I see that you're not as perfect as he is. And what ends up happening at that point is now you've got the child looking at the other brother like, you know what? I don't like you at all. You used to take my bicycle when we was 4 or 5 years old. Couldn't stand you then. And I can't stand you now. And now that she's doing what she's doing, saying how much better than me you are, I think I got a problem with you. And I think I'm gonna fix it, which is exactly what happened when we look at the story of Abel, Cain and Abel. I'm trying to give everybody the show so that they can see it. When we look at the story of Cain and Abel, we see that's exactly what happened. He exacted his revenge against his brother, and this is a theme that has gone on for centuries, for millennia, right? And so we're going to look at something right now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you guys to a couple of stories that you may or may not have heard about. I know some of them sort of shocked me, but the first piece that we're going to do is we're going to lay down the whole idea about sibling rivalry. And I want to see if you guys can recognize how it differs just a wee bit. So we're going to read that. All right. I want to make sure that you guys can see it. So let me go on ahead and pot it up a little bit for you there. Okay, there you go. And then I want to make sure on this side that you guys got it like I always want you to, and that is to have it completely for you to see it. So it goes here to say, this is from Good Housekeeping. This is my secular article on the topic. Okay. I want to say hi to everybody. Vine Dressers Branch, it's good to see you. There is my one and only Marty Lauderdale. Hello. Jordan Landry, good to see you. Leaf Desi, good to see you. Betty R, hello. And Daryl Long, how you doing, brother? So here we go. Sibling rivalry is one of the earliest and most lasting relationships. Sibling relationships. Girl, you ain't no good. Let me come over here and look at y'all. Hold on a second. Hold up. Y'all see where my mind is. I went directly to rivalry. Here we go. Sibling relationships are one of the earliest and most long lasting relationships that we have. But just try to explain that to a 7-year old and a 5-year old who are both intent on playing with the exact same thing at the exact same time. While these types of family fights are headaches for parents, studies show that sibling rivalry can actually be beneficial, teaching kids skills such as negotiating, compromising, and resolving conflict. Remember, this is the secular side of what we're talking about, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let's continue. Now, it goes on to say that that does not mean that sibling squabbles are only beneficial. The same study notes that if sibling rivalry continues into adulthood, there will be risks to financial competition, relationships, and care, where the competition can replace competition to get parental attention that occurs early in life. So, how can parents ensure that they get the benefits of early conflict resolution but preserve their children's relationships, all while maintaining a harmonious household? It says, there are some things that parents can do to manage sibling rivalry. Now, here are some of the causes. The main causes of sibling rivalry about what kids see as fairness. It's more so pointed to as what kids see as fairness. Okay? It says here that your kids strive for equal treatment. Three things are typically at the root of most sibling rivalry: kids feeling they're getting unequal amounts of attention, degrees of responsiveness, and the severity of discipline. Now, this comes from Donna Hausman, the founder CEO of the Hausman Institute. It also goes on to say that if they feel like one child is being singled out for special attention, or if their punishments are harsher than their brother or sisters, expect conflict to arise. But while kids expect to get their fair share, they don't want to be treated as carbon copies of each other either. All children want to feel special and unique. And while they're developing their sense of individuality, they want to be recognized by their parents as not just interchangeable siblings. Most siblings experience some degree of jealousy or competition. How parents handle this reality is the key to how deep and long the rivalry runs. I want to say something here. I'm going to finish this up, but I'm going to come back and say something here. What I want to talk about is the fact that a lot of times when we look at people and they say, well, that wasn't fair, or I think I should have had this. Well, he got this. Well, why shouldn't I get that? Here's the deal. And this is for young parents. When you're dealing with that question in your children, I want you to think long and hard about why one person got something and why another person did not get something. And then you as a parent has to figure out the personality between those two children, as well as your relationship with that one child in particular. And you're going to have to be able to unravel that and unpack it to fit that child. I think a lot of times what happens is that parents will have a blanket answer because I said so. They'll have a blanket meaning. They'll have a blanket, just it'll cover everything. It'll cover everybody, when that is not true. Each individual child that you have a different relationship with that person. And that person thinks differently than maybe his brother or sister. That person responds differently to conflict. That person responds and processes things differently, which is the reason why generally we have to be cognizant of how they function, because that is how they will carry on for the rest of their lives. You have to think about all of that. One thing, when I see the term fair, when I think about fair, fair is not a real thing. I know that as a human resources manager or director, I've had to teach about being fair and equitable, and I get that. But do you know that sometimes fair and equitable is not always applicable to every single situation? You think about that while we read the rest of this. Let's go on to read the rest. All right. Think about that and think about how it might not work, to be fair, when somebody says, oh, that's not fair. Well, that's not fair. That's just not right. It's just not fair. What is fair? That's the question. All right. So it says there is no magic age gap that decreases sibling rivalry. and no specific age when it disappears. No specific age when it disappears. It says you may have heard parents offer the conventional wisdom that kids born too close together will be extra competitive. Well, we have a story today that we're going to look at. It's a very short news clip, but it goes totally against this because it's dealing with somebody much older than their siblings. Okay. So it goes on to say here that, or that kids born too far apart will be the subject of the wrath of the oldest child, which is basically the story that we're going to be listening to, who is too used to being an only child. While they may sound reasonable, these bits of wisdom aren't backed by studies. Well, life itself, I don't really deal with a lot of studies, but here's what I think. I think that a lot of times when we are dealing with other people, some people are motivated by studies. If things don't have any studies, if things don't have any peer groups, if they haven't had any, double blind placebos to go with that medication, if they've not done any of that type of stuff, a lot of times people just won't listen. People just won't receive it. Yeah, we can go on and on that one because I could take you to a totally different rabbit hole. But anyway, instead, every family has its own equilibrium caused by the makeup of personalities of everyone in it. So there is no blanket rule. Siblings who are close in age can be playmates and buddies or bitter enemies, and often alternate those roles. Now, this comes from Perry Class, which is an MD and a co-author of Quirky Kids: Understanding and Supporting Your Child with Developmental Differences. She goes on to say, or Perry goes on to say, and children who are spread apart further may have a little more distance, but there can also be resentments. It's often the case that these rivalries dissipate with time. Generally, by the time of adulthood, sibling relationships shift closer to friendships. This is coming from the clinical psychologist, and this is actually Allison Holmes, which is a PhD from Daybreak Health. She goes on to say that each child has been able to develop a unique relationship with each parent, and they are able to appreciate their own and others' individualism. But if left unaddressed, as the study notes above, resentments can carry on through adulthood. And that's where I want to stop reading, because that's what I want to focus on today. How can it carry on to adulthood? And does it carry on to adulthood? When it gets to adulthood, how dangerous can it be? When it gets to adulthood, what is you play too much? When it gets to adulthood, how does it affect the family? How does it affect the parents? How does it affect that person? And how does it affect the siblings? And what do they do when they feel like you play too much? These are very, very pivotal questions because a lot of parents have put wedges between their children, whether they knew better or not. Some did. And a lot of those children end up reacting and responding for ages with one another. Some parents have that divisiveness between the children because they want to have a form of control. You may even find bosses that exact that type of personality, where they will cause enough division in the staff so that they have control. Some parents do that in a very narcissistic way. Are you that person? You know how we are here. We have to put the question, we have to put the mirror back on ourselves. Are you that person? Do you build a wedge between your kids? Do you compare your kids? Do you? Why? Stop it. Right? Looking at the story of Cain and Abel, something that, as there may be people who say, hey, this is just a parable, or Cain and Abel is just a fable, or I believe the word of Yah, and I believe the Bible, and I believe that the Cain and Abel story is a serious story. But do you know that there's another one? We already talked about Jacob and Esau, but I'm going to say this, and I'm going to let you do your own study. Lucifer and. I said it. Lucifer and. So rivalry, whether it be through the twins, whether it be, brother, sister, whether it be whatever, sibling rivalry can cause a train wreck. I want you guys to look at this. I'm going to read this story for you just to give you an example of what I'm trying to tell you about today. But first, before I go on, let me just finish cooking a little bit here for you. Let me cook a little bit more for you. Let me cook just a wee bit. Okay. The reason and the purpose for the whole sibling rivalry is to cause a generational divide. It is to cause enough contention so that your seed never connects with one another. If you look at it right now, there are children who don't even live near their loved ones or their brothers and sisters. Now, some people, like my brothers and sisters and I, we're separated just because we're grown. And one person decided to move to the UK. Another person lives in Texas. A few more live in California. Um, and then I obviously live down south. But there's not that level of rivalry as the stories that we've just mentioned between, Cain and Abel and, Jacob and Esau, Lucifer and, um, we have not, we haven't, we don't have that type of situation. But the purpose of that type of situation is to prevent unity. Now, we all know that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, right? We all know that. And so we do know that there's principalities, there's rulers, wickedness in high places that have their hand in the cauldron or have their hand in the pot stirring up wickedness. We already know that. And now, as parents and as grandparents, we have to now be able, now that this is coming to the forefront of your mind because we're bringing it out here to you, we have got to see it and see the signs, and we've got to stop it. So we got to pull that mom or dad as grandparents to the side and get to say, hey, you know what? I see what's brewing here. He had a brother that came right on the heels of his third birthday. You'll even see children regress sometimes. They'll start to act like babies again. So as the grandparent or as the elder parent, okay, we have to be able to sweep in and pull that adult parent of the child to the side and love them and say, hey, you know what? I'm noticing X, Y, or Z. And this may be an issue that you're having. Let me try to help you with this. And then we work it out that way. But it is really, really a rivalry that has been going on for centuries. Let's look at this terrible story. I want to read this story to you. But first, let's look at this 1 minute story about an older brother and a younger sister, younger siblings. Remember, I told you guys we were going to look at that spread in age, the spread in age. Yeah, here it is, right here.
Thanks. Following up for you tonight, 19-year-old Malik Murphy, accused of murdering his little brother and sister, was in court today. His public defender asked to waive the hearing, so he is due back in court October 27th. Murphy facing 2 counts of first-degree murder, accused of stabbing 7-year-old Noah and 5-year-old Sophia to death at their Colorado Springs home early Tuesday morning. He's also charged with attempted murder. Police say he stabbed his father, who was trying to stop him.
And investigators tell News 5 there were signs of mental health issues with Murphy recently. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at the warning signs to try and prevent these kinds of tragedies. News 5's Lena Howland watching out for you tonight. She's in studio. What are the experts telling you, Lena?
Well, we met with the National Alliance on Mental Health to talk about what happened and how you can get the help you need before tragedy strikes.
This young man needed help, clearly.
19-year-old Malik Murphy was taken into custody after police say he admitted to stabbing his sister and brother to death and that he had planned to do something this horrific.
This sort of thing can happen in any community, and it sounds like this young man has a very serious mental illness.
We know now, according to arrest documents obtained by News 5, Murphy told detectives he planned to kill his whole family and bury them in the backyard of their home so he could be alone.
Do not take these kinds of threats casually.
Murphy also told police he often had these homicidal thoughts, and we learned after his arrest in March in Illinois for setting his parents' SUV on fire, he was taking antidepressants and struggled with alcohol, but had attended some counseling sessions.
Anytime someone who you know has a serious mental illness talks about homicidal ideation or the idea of hurting themselves or hurting someone else, so suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation, you need to take it very seriously.
Lori Jarvis with the National Alliance on Mental Health says it's important for other families living with someone with a mental illness to know that they are not alone and there is help out there.
We know what to do for these families. We know how to help them. We have education and support for these families, and that's what we're here for.
The National Alliance on Mental Illness has education programs in place to help any families dealing with mental illness cope with it together before things ever reach the extent of this type of tragedy. Now, we have posted their information along with many other resources here locally on our website at koaa.com.
Remembering the lives of two young children who were killed overnight. I'm Elizabeth Watts.
Good evening, I'm Rob Quirk. It's a News 5 alert.
No, I'm muted again. That was Colorado Springs, Colorado. And one thing that was a very big component in that story was the mental illness of it all. Did you see the widespread in age? There was a wide range in their age category between the young man who allegedly did this act and the babies and the family members that had been attacked. But it's still all the same thing. It's still all wickedness. It's still all evil. But it's also a thing of, do you get that child help when they need it? That is when sibling rivalry can go wrong. Now, let's do this. Let's just wipe that table. Let's just wipe that topic off the table, this situation off the table, and just use the components from the story. The mental illness portion, the part that, yes, there is sibling rivalry. And then let's do this. Let's take the story and let's put it all together this way. Hey, Mama Carol, how you doing today? Rachel Van Zyl, hello. Leafy Greens, good question. That's a good, I see what you say there. I don't know what it means, but it sounds good. Jeffrey, how you doing? So now, right now in the United States, we have got some laws that are on their ear. Somebody sent me something, and I'm gonna actually read that to you guys later this week. Well, thank you guys for all of you all checking on me. We're finally all moved in. It took us literally a month to get everything done, but we are finally all moved in. We had the week down. You guys noticed people were calling and checking on me, emailing and checking on me. You notice the whole different. It's different. This is actual studio that's not finished. But anyway, so let's look at it. So you have mental illness as a major role right now. It may not have been a thing back in the day. It may have just been wickedness or evil when the whole Cain and Abel, Esau, and all that stuff happened, right? But right now we know that what plays a great big role in this whole shenanigans is mental illness and the lack of responsiveness that parents and families take, or the fact that there is not enough, things set up in place within the community to actually help with mental illness. That's a big thing. And then there's also the age cutoff. But did you notice one key component when we do drag this story back into the forefront? It was the fact that they were not able to subdue this man, even though he had made comments about what he was going to do to his family. Did you notice that? Did anybody see that? That's huge. They could not do anything even after he had told them what he planned to do. To me, that was a cry for help. And to me, the police and everybody else who heard that were in a form of authority should be dragged away as well. But that's just me. That's just me. That's all. I'm just saying that part. How do we as parents stop this type of stuff? From a spiritual standpoint, I think the majority of us know how to handle it. But how do we recognize it? These are good points. Does anybody have any answer? Give us some of the responses down there in the chat. Let me give you guys another story dealing with the fact that rivalry and siblings is out of hand. And they always end bad. So how come there's all these bad stories, Felicia? Why are you showing us all these bad stories? Because sibling rivalry cannot end well. And that's our point for today. That is our point. That Cain and Abel's spirit has to be eradicated. But as people who can see, it's up to us to do it. I have a grandson, and he just loves to be in competition. He loves to be in competition with the brother. If you give one brother one thing, then he's going to run in the room. Now, for example, let me give you an example. Say there's apples, there's oranges, and there are bananas. And this one particular grandchild will see the apples. Well, he will choose an apple. A few minutes later, the other child will come in and he'll choose the banana. Maybe it could even be 30 minutes. He'll choose the banana. Don't you know that the child who chose the apple will come back to me and say, "Can I have a banana?" And what is your general response to the child who already has one piece of fruit? You're going to say, "Well, no, baby, you just got the apple." Do you know what he says? "Well, Jerry got one." That's early signs of sibling rivalry. he got one. Okay? That's just a for instance. Let's read this here. Jeffrey Woodland says, most likely he should have gotten help by his parents if they cared when he was young or younger. Absolutely, that's absolutely right. But I want to play devil's advocate for a minute here. How many of us know the signs of mental illness in a 4-year-old if you've never had kids before? Now, granted, you probably know this baby has some serious issues, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. How do we find out that information? How do we know when somebody has mental health illnesses or mental health challenges? How do we know that the child wasn't okay all the way up to a certain point until drugs were introduced into their bloodstream, when they've already pulled themselves away from the parent? Because a lot of times by the time kids start doing that, they don't want to have anything to do with their parent or anybody else who can be the governor. So the parent really didn't notice all of this for whatever the reason. Listen, every single thing that we're seeing right now is an attack directly and an assault on the family. It is an attack on what was created to be. And so when you have mothers who aren't at home, okay, and she's got to work, and maybe she doesn't have a husband, meaning she's not there with little Johnny or Bobby all the time, with little Sally Sue, she's not there. Why? Because she's putting bread on the table. So therefore, she doesn't have the opportunity to be there. So she's not actually able to see everything that's going on. Listen, time goes by quickly. Time goes by quickly. We could end the whole thing by saying, well, just do it Yah's way, but not everybody follows Yah. And a lot of people that come to this channel, they're not anybody who picks up Bibles. A lot of people don't pick up the Bible. I love them anyway. Come on and get the information. So we cannot just give it a blanket answer. Well, just do this, or, well, just do it the right way. What's the right way? Becomes relative to folks who don't think like you and Bob and Sally and me. So what is the answer? Here's the problem. The answer is now in the state of California being handled by the local government, by ambulances, as we read the other week, by the police, by anybody else other than the family. Anybody else can petition the court to say, hey, this person, and remember they shrouded the story under homeless, this person needs to be put away. In tandem with that, there's a really big deal that somebody sent me that is in the federal government's hands, that deals with conservatorship, that will remove an executor over the, I don't want to say it wrong, the conservatorship of a family member or a person, that the government agency can step in and take the place of that person. And we've got that document and we are going to read it. Not today, but we're going to read it. So you got two things. You got the state of California, which always sets precedents. Then you got the federal government that's making a move to say across the board, this is going to be the rule. That the executor can be removed by a state hired or a government hired social worker. And the funds that would be distributed will now be going to that social worker's salary and wherever else the rest of the money goes. So this is a lot bigger than you think. That's why I'm telling you, get a handle on it. Get a handle. Get a grip. Now, we are going to look at this next story because it does go hand in hand with sibling rivalry. And it's really sad because this cat here, these people here. Where are we? There we go. Is this it or is this it? This is it. Is this it? There you go. All right. So it says here that a man that stabbed his brother to death with a sword on the family's porch. Terrible, terrible. But listen, there is nothing good that comes from sibling rivalry unless, of course, you are Venus and Serena Williams and you gone to, you played one another and one of you guys won. So there's not going to be any frilly, fluffy stories. I'm sorry about that. But this is it. A man allegedly stabbed his brother to death on his family's porch. According to authorities in Missouri, Kansas City police were alerted to reports that someone had been cut and raced to the 6200 block of Tracy Street And that was Thursday as of the date of this article, which is not a new article. When police arrived, they found the victim, Carl Wynn, on the front porch and determined a sword had been put through his chest. According to the homicide tracker by NBC affiliate KSHB, there have been 219 homicides in the greater Kansas City metropolitan area as of October the 9th, as of the date of this story. That's really nothing to do with this. This is a brother who literally did something wrong to his own sibling. But why? Why would he do that? Well, Aaron K. Wynn, 38, and was the victim's brother, initially told detectives that Carl had committed suicide. CBS affiliate KCTV reported. But then Aaron said, this is what he said, that he had been involved in an argument with his brother over an oven. Just let that sit there. Let that sit there. There's nothing too small. I mean, we go from giving offerings, grain or fruit offering, or the animal offering, harvest offering. We go from that, and then we get Lucifer and his brother, sibling rivalry, to this kind of stuff. They got in an argument over an oven. I'm giving you guys breadcrumbs that'll make you angry and that'll make you question what I'm talking about, so you can go study it for yourself. You know how I do. So it says court documents obtained by the network stated the argument had been due to the oven being shut off when Wynn was trying to cook a pizza. It added, Wynn conveyed in the interview that he was unhappy with the victim's lack of ownership of what Wynn classified as an evil wrongdoing regarding the oven. Ownership. Let me tell you guys something. Let me read this and we're going to finish. But I got to get to you and tell you something. KCTV reported Aaron Wynn then showed officers a Facebook video of him threatening to do this to his brother. The footage of the confrontation had been a live stream. Now the news station reported that Aaron Wynn was subsequently charged with a second-degree murder and armed criminal action. He is being held on $750,000 bond, and that was at the date of this publication. All right. Now, let me say this. This was October. Do you know what has gotten a little out of hand? I'm going to tell you what's gotten a little out of hand. A lot of these terms. Oh, he didn't take ownership. Oh, this person didn't take ownership. Oh, listen, they're not being held accountable. You need to be held accountable. Do you notice that there's like this self-righteous type of thing that's going on right now? And these people are talking about the most asinine things, but they want somebody to be held accountable for a pizza. You use the term ownership as if your mental state would have been different if you had walked up to him and asked him, have you turned the stove off? And he had said, oh, yes, I take ownership of it. I did it. You weren't going to be no different, my man. You were going to be the same, if not worse. See, let's just put it down here, like my friend girl says, Black Spring, where the cows can get it. This generation of self-entitled bandits ain't gonna get no better. There is a sense of entitlement that is off the chain right now. It is off the chain. And you're going to be hearing more and more ignorant stories like that. You literally took somebody's life over an oven and a pizza. That's what's going on right now. Because this particular generation is all built upon these famous words that they give them. They give them these words for empowerment. They give them these words and these terms of what is fair. This is fair. You should have taken ownership because that's fair. You should have taken ownership because that's what's right. You're wrong. And they trip on the tiniest of words. Did you know that? They be tripping on they get caught up in the semantics of stuff right now. They all getting caught up in the semantics. Have you had a conversation with a millennial lately? I'll hold. How did it work out for you? Have you noticed that they are totally different than anything that used to be considered normal? And they have this vocabulary that is from Webster's 2.0. And it's all based on what is fair, what is for me, what you take ownership. And they be wrong. That dude was wrong. And he wants somebody to take ownership about a stove with a pizza in it instead of going in there, handling the situation, and taking his rump to bed. Eating that cardboard, fake pizza cheese, fake sauce, with all kind of GMOs that's tripping with his mind, tripping with his body, making him go crazy. Instead of taking his rump to bed, this is what he did. And this is what it's all steeped in, selfishness. Every single bit of the self-rivalry that we've talked about today is all steeped in selfishness. Every inch of it. There's nothing else to be said about it. No matter what the issue is, a person will become a glutton trying to keep up with somebody else. It's the keeping up with the Joneses of the family, as it were. A person will just stuff themselves where they can't stuff no more because this person got it, so I should get it. Or they'll do the opposite. They'll go get a little bit of it, bite it, and then set it down and go on and leave it. Wastefulness. Because of that spirit. That is a spirit. Wastefulness. It goes from one thing to the next. You don't believe me? Watch them. Just watch them. Just watch them. Sometimes people will do something and they don't even mean to, but the person who's got that chip or that axe to grind, they're always going to notice that little bitty small thing. Why? Because that rivalry is real. And they're just trying to one-up somebody. You ever seen somebody trying to one-up someone? You can never make that individual happy. You can never make that individual understand that enough is enough. You can never give. You know what I mean? You can't give them enough time. You can't love them enough. You just can't seem to make them happy. And then I'm gonna flip it on the ear for you, mama. I'm gonna flip it on the ear for you, daddy. Here you go. You want to know what else that person that is exacting sibling rivalry can do? Well, they can jack you up. You better catch it. Sibling rivalry is not just with the siblings. This is an individual who's learned the art of selfishness. And so now they want you to give them everything. I mean, you look at the story. If we're going biblical, you got the story of the prodigal son. You got the one that was left there. He had an issue with the one who went away, and then he came back. Well, then he got an issue. Well, the one who left said, "Hey, you know what? You and this one here look a little too close for me anyway. Just give me my portion." Now, do you remember there was a son who was killed by his father, and we used to groove to his music in the 70s and the late 60s. He was killed by his daddy because he wanted his portion right now. Why? Because of selfishness. And he felt that it was due to him. That was Marvin Gaye. That was Marvin Gaye. You owe me. So now, when we look at sibling rivalry, we have to exegete one piece, just unscrew the whole thing, snatch out one part, throw the sibling rivalry term away, and deal with what it is, and that's selfishness. The gaslighting. The "you owe me, mom." See, you didn't handle it when he was young. You didn't get down there and deal with him or her when they were young and teach them what's right. Hey, oh, wait a minute now. No one is owed anything. We earn X, Y, or Z. Hey, yo, wait a minute now. You chose an apple. He chose a banana. He didn't get both apple and banana. You're not going to get apple and banana. You chose the apple. He chose the banana. Eat your apple and go on about your business. But see, we don't do that. Well, are you going to eat the banana if I give it to you? Well, finish that apple and I'll see you in a minute. And they take the apple to buy a couple of pieces and throw it in the garbage can. That's what they do to your money when they grow up, mama, daddy. That's what they do to our money when they grow up. Because they've not learned the concept of earn as you go. That is the reason why you have people who don't have no bills to pay sitting up in somebody else's house fighting over a pizza. Don't got no job. They living in mama or great grandmama or mama's or somebody's house. They living off you. They living off me. They living off people. They're living off the system. They're living off something. This is that spirit, the spirit of selfishness. I. Here, let me give it to you. I. Me, my. Hi, I'm I. I'm I and me, my. I want me, my, me now. That's what it is. It's all about I-ism, me-ism, mine, everything. That's the generation that you're in. So what am I telling you right now? Buckle up, baby, because it ain't going to get better. Figure it out. And what you're going to have to do is stand up for something, or you're going to be knocked out for anything. Stand up for what is right. Teach them now. I had to cut people off, man. Literally not give jokers my address. Do you realize what I'm saying? Is that serious right now? So sibling rivalry can go on, but it's the spirit that's behind it that I'm telling you about today. I'm telling you to get a hold of that thing, unscrew it, throw it away, look at the person who was, and get rid of them. Get rid of them. Because if they're treating their siblings like that, that's going to reverse when they get older. Because you know what? They've learned the spirit of manipulation. They've learned how to manipulate you. And now that the sibling got enough sense and space to run away from them, they're going to continue to manipulate you. How dangerous can that be? How dangerous can that be? Oh, he's taller than I am. Oh, he's shorter than me. Oh, I play much better than him. Oh, I'm smarter than she is. And they didn't even give me this or that. I'm better than she is. And they didn't even give me this or that. I want to thank you, Jeffrey. 409 cleaner is needed to clean the world. You're absolutely right. Right? That's all it's about. All it is right now. And you know what? I want to thank you guys for hitting that like button so that we get this with the algorithm so it gets out there. Thank you all for hitting the like button. If this is your first time here, thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you. But cutting folks off is a healthy thing to do. Well, what do you mean, Felicia? If you're the parent and things didn't go right when the child was younger, do you think that you should cut them off now? I mean, if you didn't make it right, cut them off. Cut them off. Turn it off. Let it go. You can't redo it. Ask for forgiveness. Tell them you love them and then bone out. Because they've taken adults and parents out right now with that selfish spirit. And I can't tell you how to go back in time and fix it. What I can tell you is that right now you're going to have to set some boundaries, because sibling rivalry, the spirit that's behind the sibling rivalry, is a dangerous, dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing, and it will affect the parent because, like I said, some of those siblings know how to get up and get away. Some do, some don't, as you can see in the stories, unfortunately. And those babies did not deserve that. And there's always going to be somebody to blame why the person was able to do X, like I shared earlier. You know what? Somebody needed to pull the coattail of the child when it was younger and get them some mental health help. Somebody needed to do this. Somebody needed to take somebody off some sugar. And why don't we, I'm going to make a sidebar here. Why don't we consider that as a way to help people first? Why do we always go to the doctors and end up with the drugs of it all? Why don't we take people off the refined sugar? Why don't we do that? Why don't we look at the character and the personality and see how the person is different when we give sugar? Moms, aunts, nieces, whoever has a youngster around you that's exacting some type of revenge on small animals and kids, take that sugar away and see what happens. Replace it with some protein and check it out. I did it just recently and I was amazed. I was absolutely startled. Then I said, okay, this person can't have any more sugar. Don't even buy them anymore. Period. You got to monitor this kind of stuff. Why? Because we got to think about the fact that we are being assaulted on different levels. And if you want the health and well-being of that child or those children to be able to even learn effectively, to be able to absorb information effectively, you've got to look at what's going on in their lives. And right now, what I want to tell you parents is that's important. That's very important. There's a lot of you like me who decided not to put the children in regular school, but to go through the state and homeschool them, you know, your education department or division or whatever. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to do a lot of unpacking. You're going to have to be with those children. You're going to have to take a lot of time with those kids, because what you don't want is for them to end up going another direction, which is a very easy way. And that is all electronic. All electronic. You don't want that. Please believe me, you don't want that. The best thing that ever happened to one of mine is that his cell phone broke. We got the phone specifically because it was a birthday gift. And it was hell, I tell you. I said it. It was hell. Much to my chagrin. I did not want to do it. But there's a mom involved. So my point today is deal with sibling rivalry, or it's going to deal with you. Realize that the spirit that's behind sibling rivalry is a word that's just been given to you. You've just been given the term sibling rivalry. But what the truth is that it all boils down to jealousy, to envy, okay, to destructiveness. It all boils down to wickedness. And you can only deal with wickedness by calling it by its name and weeding it out. Because it can get a hold of you too. There's a lot of parents right now that are being blackmailed emotionally by grown children, by grown folk, by grown people, by grown people. Well, you gave him $5. Well, you gave him, he got a brand new engine. Never mind the fact that, this is a relationship between you and that person, and you did what you did. If you don't have it right now, you're going to hear about it. Oh, yeah. And then there are even some of us in the chat right now that may think about the parent that they look at that did start some of this in their life. You got people right here, right now, that are thinking about the fact that, hey, my mama did that to us. My mother always gave to my brother and rarely gave to me. My mother always gave to my sister and rarely gave to me. Let it go. Let it go. You can't fix no adult. You can't fix no grown person. You can't fix mama, papa, or nobody. You can't fix none of them. Let it go. I appreciate you guys. It's been good talking to you all today. And I'm glad that we're all set up now. Whew, that was the longest move on the planet. What started to be like a 1 week thing ended up being, hey, that's not fixed and that's not fixed. So they had to come back and redo everything upstairs. We had to stay where we were for a little bit longer, to the tune of 1 month. We were moving one day, and then the next thing you know, everything went, because we went and did the inspection, and we were like, yikes, that's not right. That's not right. And so now we're here, and I'm glad. Don't know exactly how things are going to look when it's all over, but at least I'm glad I have the studio. We're probably going to soundproof it. We're getting ready to close here, but we're going to soundproof it. We're going to do a lot of other fun things here and set up some stuff. And so I just want to say thank you guys for all of your support. Thank you for the folks who literally checked on me. For the people who are sending cash apps, please don't stop. I appreciate it. I have one person who sends me a cash app every couple of Fridays. And I just want to tell you that it's a precious thing, and it's a sweet thing, and it's a very thoughtful thing. And I appreciate you. But I really do need your support now, because we got a lot of stuff that's got to be done in here. We really do. And because this is all I do and then take care of the boys, I don't know how it's going to get done. But I do appreciate folks like Jeffrey, who decided today to give. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For those of you who decide that you want to give by Cash App, thank you so much. Marty has the Cash App information. It's there. That'll go directly to the bottom line. And I appreciate you for that. If this has been a help for you in any way, shape, or form, won't you consider giving? I would love it. I would love it, and I appreciate it. And if you don't have the ability to do either one of those things right now, a like helps. Watching the ads help. Watching the ads helps a lot. So I want to tell you guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. Looks like we got some people here. Oh, Narratives and Dialogues. Hello. How are you? It's good to see you. Good to see you. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. That's right, Jeffrey. That's right. Make sure either that or angry. Manipulation, Rachel said. Absolutely. My son's dad never listens about the sugar and bad food. Our big battle at the moment. See? Yeah, it is. And then I'm going to tell you guys something. Here's the thing. I want you guys to realize something. That when something is genetically modified organism, an organism is a living thing. An organism is a living thing. An organism is a living thing. You get enough food that has living things, what can happen? Who knows? I want to thank each and every one of you for hanging out with us today, and thank somebody for reminding me about the jazz so I could put the music on. I don't know whether it was Daryl or who it was. I was like, where the music? That was funny. Hey, Mark Adams, how are you? If you're still here, hello. If you had to go and you come back and check out the rest of this, hello to you. I'm a twin, so I know all about the sibling rivalry. There you are. All right, you guys, I want you to remember what we always say here on this channel, and that is that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every single word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. You guys remember to take care of yourselves first, because without you, ain't nothing gonna happen. They ain't gonna be able to call you and ask you for nothing. No, I'm just joking. Without you, nothing happens. Nothing at all. Not one thing. So what I want you to do is take care of yourselves first, and then I want you to turn right around and take care of somebody else. And remember that until I see you again, until we see one another again, I want you all to continue to be blessed. You take care.
To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you